It never really occurred to me that my wife and I would have trouble conceiving.
Didn't even cross our minds in the slightest.
Having a child was the next logical step.
I didn't want to accept it at first.
I felt like it was my fault.
It hit me like a wrecking ball all at once, all the emotions all at once.
Infertility is so emasculating.
It's made me more aware of how I feel about what's important to me.
I think I tried to escape from it a little bit.
I suppose, buried my head in the sand and thought, it'll happen.
I probably, like most men, didn't want any help, didn't want it, couldn't accept any help.
Probably didn't cope very well with it, just buried it down, I think.
I can't think of one aspect of my life that's the same now as it was before the diagnosis.
Men are as much part of this as well. Why don't we say something?
This week we're busting drug smugglers with Popeye Doyle and polluters with Erin Brockovich in The French Connection and Erin Brockovich. It's Have You Seen? Hello, fair listener and watcher, I suppose. Welcome to Have You Seen? It is an annoyingly sweaty British night. Not like... Oh, God. Sorry, I just had visions of a bloke in armour on horseback sweating his nuts off.
It must have happened. I mean...
They must have sweated a lot in that stuff, particularly in the summer.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, it's one of those things, you always think of a suit of armour as a completely contained thing, but it's not really. It's just a series of plates. So I guess at least, you're not going to end up like pouring your boots out at the end.
I bet you do.
Well,
it's not especially air conditioned, is it?
No, but I mean, it's just bits stuck on you. It's not like you pull it on like a pair of trousers, is it?
No, I suppose not. Hi, I'm Kieran LEFORT, and the person I'm having this discussion about air conditioning and suits of armour with is Tom Webb.
Hello.
There is no medieval theme to this episode whatsoever. It's all very distinctly 20th century.
Yeah.
We should have had this chat during Bill.
Yeah, that would have made
Well, there
more
aren't many
sense.
nights in that either. There's not a lot of suits of armour in that.
No,
if any.
No, mostly just doublets.
Yes. And hose.
Mm.
Not that sort of hose, the other sorts of hose.
Yeah.
Right, we need to talk about films, otherwise this is going to go off on an absolute tangent.
Yeah.
Do you have any preference as to what we cover first?
No, not in the slightest.
Okay,
I'm quite happy to go with either.
Okay, I've got my Erin Brockovich notes open.
Okay. We can go that first.
That seems to be the way. I just tell you which notes I've got open and we just dive in with that one.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Alrighty, Erin Brockovich is from 2000, directed by Steven Soderbergh and starring Julia Roberts. And the picture I gave Tom last week was, after he loses her personal injury case, unemployed single mother Erin Brockovich shames her lawyer into giving her a job, despite having no experience. While looking into a simple real estate buyout case, Erin uncovers a scandal involving a huge corporation polluting a town's water supply and, just like David versus what's-his-name, sets out to bring them down.
Yeah, that sums it up.
This is notable for being the movie that made Julia Roberts the highest paid actress in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
She got $20 million of the $52 million budget.
Mm-hmm.
It then went on to make $256 million and got her the Oscar, the BAFTA and the Golden Globe for this performance.
Yeah. I think it also got her some others as well. I think she's the only...
Yeah, there are some more minor awards.
Yeah.
I can't remember what they are. They're things like Saturns and Actor's Choice and
I think
Writer's Favourite movie star. And
she was I don't know if anyone's done it since, but she was the first woman to do that. To get all of however many it was. I know it was not just the Oscar, the BAFTA and what the other one was.
Scoop the whole
Golden
lot.
Globe.
Took home an armful.
Yeah. Pretty much everything.
Yes. Oscar-wise, it was also nominated for Best Film, Best Director, Best Original Screenplay, and Best Supporting Actor for Albert Finney, who plays Ed Masry, the lawyer in question.
Mm-hmm.
I like it mostly because I think it's very well written. And as we said last week, it's good Soderbergh. Where I think I said when Soderbergh is good, he's this and out of sight, and when he's bad, he's haywire.
Yeah.
And the Limey, as Tom reminded me that I very much did not enjoy.
No. See, I quite like the Limey. I don't mind that.
I can't remember what it was. I have listened to that episode again since. Like
Yeah.
when we were preparing to do this, I went back and listened to every episode that I had. And I did listen to that, but it was a while ago and I was binging them. So I can't remember why I took against the Limey.
I can't remember
I just
why.
remember that
Maybe you just
bloody hated it.
Yeah, maybe you were just in a bad mood when you watched it.
Maybe. I'm not in an especially great mood today. I spent 3 hours fighting with flat pack furniture and have nothing to show for it. So,
Yeah,
and I got to sleep at 2:30 in the morning. And as you told me, you got to sleep at 4:30 this morning.
I did. Yeah,
So we are very much in the mood to talk about these films.
yeah. But no, yeah, it'd be fun.
Yeah, what did you make of this? Where would you like to start?
I mean, just top line overall, I thought it was a really good film. You know, it, like you say, it is Steven Soderbergh at his best. And I think it's
Steven Soderbergh at his least wanky, I think. Like, it's,
well, yeah. I mean, the thing is, though, it kind of straddles an interesting line where it's a studio movie with, for him, a huge budget, but it still has that style of a independent movie. Like
yes, but not overtly so.
No, so I kind of felt it was just right.
I think that's why I didn't like the Limey, because the style in that, he takes it to the extreme.
He does,
to the
and
point
that,
where,
like,
when he's showing flashbacks of younger Terence Stamp, he's even bought the rights to a movie with young Terence Stamp in, and used those as the flashbacks.
Yeah, it was a Ken
is
Loach
a clever
movie,
idea,
or Mike,
but really, wanky and annoying.
Yeah, and like
to me anyway.
It was one of those things. Like I think, like the Limey, that it was all shot using not natural light, but whatever light was in the location. So there was like no.
We've all been there.
Yeah, so it's that kind of stuff. Whereas this clearly wasn't like that, but it still had that sort of feel. And I think it's things like Thomas Newman's score, some of the way he montaged stuff. My only complaint about it, really, is I think it's about half an hour too long.
It is quite long, yes.
It sort of drags a little
just over
bit.
2 hours, isn't it?
2:15, and I think
okay.
it could be 1:45.
You think they could do it in 1:45?
Yeah, just because it's funny, because there's bits later on where he montages sequences where she's doing some of the process stuff, and it's like, actually you could have done that earlier on with some of the other stuff. And there's a couple of bits where she goes to meet people, and it's kind of like, okay, I can see that this is adding to the building momentum of the story, but actually
I get that.
maybe this is one or two too many. Like, we don't need to see those people, or so yeah, that was it. My sort of only vague pacing and length was my sort of issue with it. Other than that, I thought it was really good. I thought Julia Roberts was really good. I thought Albert Finney was amazing. I think he although it can be a tour de force in a scene, sometimes he could completely steal it from her.
What I really enjoyed is where she's getting the hotdogging and grandstanding moments, and he's just there. He's seen this before, and other people in the room haven't.
Yeah.
And it cuts to him, and this little wry smile creeps over his face, and he's like, "Oh, she's doing it again. She's doing it again."
Yeah.
Like, these people don't stand a chance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Particularly towards the end, where they do the two wrong feet and fucking ugly shoes line.
Yes. Yeah. I wrote that down because that's the thing. It's definitely stuff like that, and. And the first time that when the three lawyers turn up and they go into the conference room for the first time and offer 20 million, but the game, he says, like, the game has begun, and he takes 4 people in, and so it's just that kind of stuff. And that was one of those sorts of scenes where it starts to amp it up a bit. And I think I said to you last week that I kind of almost felt like it should be like a Sorkin movie. This feels like one of his sort of subject matters that he gets into, but it seemed to be like, really well researched and really well portrayed. And I thought Aaron Eckhart was good. And
speaking of Julia Roberts and Sorkin, completely forgot she's in Charlie Wilson's War we covered in season 1.
Yeah, she's in it. That's probably the only other movie that I think I've watched and thought, yeah, that was good.
What, the only other movie as a whole you ever watched? And thought that was good?
She's
or do you
in.
mean Julia Roberts?
Julia Roberts movie.
Yeah, because we were trying to work out why we had both individually taken against Julia Roberts. But
Yeah.
I'm like, I haven't actually seen a lot of stuff she's in. Like, I've got the IMDb page open now.
All I can think of off the
stuff.
top of my head would be
Yeah.
Charlie Wilson's War, which I forgot she was in.
Mm-hmm.
This and Pretty
Mhm.
Woman.
Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, which I'm sure I have.
Oh, I
seen.
have seen that as well. I've completely forgot she was in that.
Ocean's 11.
Completely forgot she was in that.
I've never seen Notting Hill.
No, I haven't seen Notting Hill.
Hook, but that doesn't really count.
Yeah, she's Tinkerbell, isn't she?
Yeah,
Forgot she was in that.
yeah. I think I might have been quite unfair on Julia Roberts. I haven't actually seen her
Probably.
in an awful lot of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I think I would agree. For me,
I do have The Player lined up to watch, actually, although she just plays herself in that.
I think that's a cameo. You've never seen The Player?
Yeah,
I have seen it. I can't remember if I particularly like it or not. Yeah. No, it was. I mean, I think for me, it stems down to supposedly it's supposed to be filming her on a red carpet and her getting in a mood and being unprofessional. That's why I kind of had taken against her a bit. But
we could probably get sued out of existence if we told the entirely truthful stories of red carpet and interview situations we have been in with people whose names the public would know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
I mean,
though those stories are 100% true.
Yeah, I mean, in this instance,
Why we only tell the good ones on this show?
The Julia Roberts, it was a film premiere, and I was a camera op.
I'm
Supposed
going
to
to
be
say
there.
allegedly before he says anything that gets us in trouble, but carry on.
No, it's fine. This shouldn't, because it was, it's not a bad story really. And I was there representing the distributor to get a soundbite from her. I think it was a movie where she might have been the only person doing press, or certainly the only person of note.
Oh,
and
yes. I remember
somebody
days like this, yes.
maybe the first or the second interview along that. So you're on the press line, and it's a long line, sort of like 30 or 40 different outlets all waiting to take their turn. And we were fairly near the front of that line because we were working for the distributor. I think the only people ahead of us were live TV crews, so crews that had a very specific time when they had to be. They were actually on air and broadcasting to the world. And somehow some tabloid journalists got up there and they asked her a rude question, which journalists shouldn't do. And I know that some people, they try to needle an answer out of it, but they asked the wrong question. And there are two ways that an actor or actress or celebrity or whatever you want to call them can deal with that. And the first is they can just kind of say, I'm not answering that, and then move on to the next crew. Or they can do what Julia Roberts did and get in a hissy fit and storm off and not talk to anybody else. And she did no press, like none of the rest of the press.
Oops.
And it's just like, I think that's unprofessional, because they're paid to be there to do their job, right?
Yes.
And if she'd kind of gone over and done lots of signing for fans, like a lot of, sometimes they'll
very often go away, do some signing to cool down a bit,
and
skip
come
a couple
back.
of crews, and then come back. Yeah,
and that's all right. I don't mind that. And also, like, if there's an actor that is just like, you know what, I want to spend my time on the red carpet with fans as opposed to crews. I can kind of respect that to an extent. And, as long as there's other people doing the press, that's fine. And then you get people like Tom Cruise who will do both in its entirety.
Funny you should mention Tom Cruise, because your Julia Roberts story kind of links into that. It didn't happen to me personally, but I met the cameraman who was next in line to shoot an interview with Tom Cruise.
Oh, yeah.
The day he was very famously shot with a water pistol by a joke crew next to him.
Yeah.
And he was like, he'd been there for 3 hours waiting. This water pistol incident happened. Tom Cruise disappeared, and he said he just went absolutely ballistic.
I'm not surprised. I mean, it's so inconsiderate. I know, like, those sorts of websites and outlets and stuff. They go there to cause trouble, and it's kind of like, well, you've either got
in wrestling parlance, they go there to get themselves over. They're not there to help out anything else. They're just there for themselves.
Yeah.
We're getting seriously off track. Maybe we should launch like a sister podcast, Tom and Kieran's Red Carpet Memories.
Maybe.
With lots of redactions and bleeping.
Yeah.
That would be the only way we could do it. Oh, we could get lots of former colleagues on to tell us stories as well.
Oh, we could.
We know some people with
Absolutely.
some very, very good stories.
We do,
Anyway,
yeah.
ERIN Brockovich.
Yeah. It's good. It's really good, and it's interesting, and it's a good. I mean, it's an interesting story to tell. I mean, it's one of those sort of shocking negligence cases, and they're always kind of interesting to delve into. And it was clearly, she's a very it's a very good part. It's a very good character.
Like I said, it's the sort of thing I'd imagine like the A-list Hollywood women climbing over each other to get. And I tried to find out if that happened, and I couldn't find out.
No, I didn't. Everything I read, it didn't kind of allude to that.
Yeah.
I know that I thought it was good that they didn't portray Erin as this completely virtuous crusader, like the kind of neglect of her family and her boyfriend, and and the husbands and stuff. They bring that in to kind of give her a sort of a flawed. It's a true story, isn't it? So although I think
as Brockovich herself claims, it's 98% true.
Yeah. So I think the thing that isn't true is the fact that Aaron Eckhart's character George, he didn't walk out. He stuck around, although they split up. He
then tried to sue her afterwards. He tried to get money out of her afterwards. Yes.
Yeah. Well, apparently he stuck about, and but I think there's a few little bits like that.
I think enough men had left Erin in her life for like this to be, he's an amalgam, if you like. I think so. Yeah. He's the idea of men leaving her rather than this specific man left her.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So I thought that was good. And like I said, I really enjoyed watching Albert Finney. Just, like you say, those little looks that he would do, and and it just comes together really well.
Some things I like. So I liked what they left out. So they left out that the real ERIN Brockovich is also dyslexic. And she got sick from the pollutants during her investigation. Yeah. And Soderbergh was like, we don't want to make this that kind of is the protagonist gonna die of some creeping illness? Yeah.
And there are a few scenes where she is a bit ill, and
I wondered if they were left over from that story. They
are, because they shot a scene where she's in hospital and she gets tested, and it's confirmed that is what it is. But they cut that out.
The real ERIN Brockovich is in the film. She plays Julia, the waitress, in the scene in the diner with.
And apparently Ed Massey is in the background.
Yeah, he's in the booth behind Julia Roberts, and you could see him briefly. He died about 5 years after this came out, unfortunately, because all of the health conditions he lists off in the film were true, and they got him.
Wow, that's sad.
Yeah. And the other thing that made me sit up and take notice is a tiny bit part. There's a man called Charles Emby, who becomes important at the end of the film. And you just think he's some kind of creepy stalker, like he's a weird looking little guy who's hanging around Erin. He doesn't really know how to approach her and talk to her. And for the most part, I think, even when I was watching it this time, which was the second time I'd seen it, I thought he was like kind of like a greasy little spy from the company who'd been sent to keep an eye on her. And it turns out he used to work for the company, and he was tasked with destroying documents that incriminate or that link the local branch where this happened to the head office in San Francisco. And he didn't. So he has on paper proof that what Brockovich is claiming happened. That guy is played by a man called Tracy Walter, who was not only Hedgehog, the main henchman in Drive, the Mark Dacascos movie that we both enjoy. He's Bob the Goon in Tim Burton's Batman.
Oh, really?
The Joker's lead henchman,
Oh, wow. I did not. I thought, because it's funny, I wrote his name down as well, because he was really good. He's kind of, he just got that, like you say, you get a really uneasy vibe, the first couple of like creepy sort of vibe. No, I don't know if creepy is the wrong word, or just like, he's
slightly sleazy and slightly, off.
Yeah. And he kind of, and it transpires throughout, like when he finally goes to talk to her, that it's just, like you say, he just
Greasily sinister.
yeah, he just doesn't quite know how to interact with
Yeah.
her, and that's just what's holding him back. Yeah,
Yeah, she thinks he's trying to pick her up at the bar.
yeah.
And given what he says to her at the picnic as well, you'd be forgiven for making that mistake.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I took shockingly few notes.
Yeah,
when
I
it came
didn't
to
take a
watching
huge
this.
amount. I didn't take a huge amount.
It was mostly some quotes that made me laugh. Things like Masri says, "What makes you think you can just walk in there and get what we need?" And she says, "They're called boobs, Ed."
Yeah, I wrote that down not because of that line. What I really liked about it was it cuts to him after she says it, and it's his brilliant eye dance that he does to make.
Does he do the triangle?
Where he's deliberately not looking, and he's finding something to look at, and he just walks away, and it's just again just perfectly done.
So, just before shooting this, Julia Roberts was dating, I think it's Benjamin Bratt,
Right.
and she showed up in her wardrobe,
All right.
and it's quite. It doesn't leave a lot to the imagination, the Erin Brockovich wardrobe,
No.
really. And he apparently went, "You are not going out dressed like that." And then she made $20 million and an Oscar and a BAFTA and a Golden Globe dressed like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the good scenes, I think, as well as when Ed Massey says to her, like, she doesn't fit in with the girls in the office, and he's like, I think they're intimidated. Maybe you should rethink your wardrobe. And she's just like, I like how I look. Maybe you should rethink your ties. And it's just like that's one of the bits where I think he starts to realise that.
But if you notice later on, he is wearing different styles of tie.
Yeah.
So what got me is this is a legal drama where you never see a trial, which is weird.
No.
Because going in, I had a memory of one.
There's a couple of moments in a hearing which is just like preamble stuff.
But the actual trial you don't see, and I think that's where this differs from if it was directed by Aaron Sorkin. He would have gone, A Few Good Men. He would have shown the trial. I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
Thereby adding another half an hour.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it did. That did jar slightly from all of that. Oh, this is going to happen, and then suddenly she's turning to Aaron Eckhart saying, "Why don't you come and see what you've helped?" And she takes him to tell the family that she's got them $5 million or whatever it is.
Yeah, the entire settlement was over $300 million. She made a $2 million bonus from this.
Yeah,
which is apparently that is one of the details that is true.
Wow.
She walked away with a check for $2 million.
That's crazy.
And I did a bit of reading on Erin Brockovich. She has gone on and now she and Masri took more of these style of cases around the country.
It says at the end that they had was it 6 more cases like that or 9 more cases? I can't remember how many it was, and one of them was against the same company.
Yes,
for a different place.
I was reading about that.
I didn't get a chance to look up to see if they'd succeeded with any of it, but...
one hasn't, and they tend to keep quiet about that one.
Right.
At least 2 more have, none to the size of this payout, I don't think. But yes, I think they were successful against the same company again. And it's, I think at least 2 more of the cases are hexavalent chromium as well, which is the pollutant in the film.
I guess that makes sense because, they've got all the research.
Well, she's now an expert on it, I guess.
Well, exactly, yeah.
Yes. So there we go, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, the only other thing that really stuck out to me is there's a scene where Finney gives a wad of papers to his assistant to fax to the PG&E claims department, and they are very clearly pages from the screenplay. That was made very obvious in HD on Netflix.
Awesome.
Alrighty, back to 1971.
Yeah, why not?
All right, you can take over and tell us all about the French Connection.
Yeah, okay. So this is another one that got nominated for a ton of awards and won. I think won one as well.
I didn't look up that part.
Did Hackman win it for Best Actor, or did it win Best Picture? I'm gonna look that up.
No, you talk. I can look it up. I've already got. I've come prepared. I have a French Connection tab and an Erin Brockovich IMDb tab already open. You tell us the plot. I'll find out the awards.
Okay, so French Connection. Anyone who's listened to the previous 100 and whatever odd episodes we've done will know that I love like early 70s movies, this kind of stuff.
Yep.
Dirty Harry, Bullet, all this kind of thing. It's kind of one of my go-to genres. Taking a Pelham 123 was another one we did, I think. Similar sort of vibe.
Yes.
So it's essentially a New York cop, typical kind of grizzled New York cop, always on the job, like can't switch off. Has a hunch, sees like he's at a nightclub and he's got a vibe that there's something dodgy going on, and there's like some known criminals to him, and then a French guy gets involved, and he starts to just using procedural police work chip away at what this might be, and it turns out to be a massive drug smuggling case based on a true story. This actually happened in the early 60s, 1962, I think. The guy who Popeye Doyle is based on is in the movie. He plays the superior.
Really?
Yeah. What's his name?
The police captain guy.
Yeah, kind of. I can't remember what his name is in the film. His name in real life is Eddie Egan. Yeah, and he plays.
Ooh.
Go on. What are you going to say?
Sorry, I found the awards at the Oscars. It took home Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Screenplay, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Editing. It was also nominated for
Best
Supporting Actor for Roy Scheider, Cinematography and Sound.
Yeah.
So 5 out of 8.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, I noticed that a lot of them paired up with what Brockovich was nominated for.
At the BAFTAs, Gene Hackman won Best Actor, but he also won it for The Poseidon Adventure.
Did he just get it for both?
Poseidon Adventure.
Yeah, he's
I guess,
the lead.
yeah.
How weird. Again,
We did that a long time ago as well. Anyway, sorry.
That's all right.
I've taken us off track.
Yeah, so it's basically just like a drug case, and it's very like procedural police work kind of stuff, like lots of stakeouts following, and utilizing, because obviously no mobile phones and not even using and just communicating via preset patterns that they learn as police officers, and because they're on a grid system.
Yeah, they don't even use a lot of payphones, do they?
No, so they're using their policing knowledge to follow suspects just by the pattern of the streets and stuff like that. So it's a lot of that kind of stuff. I really like it. I like the style of it. Directed by William Friedkin, who obviously did The Exorcist, and I think that this and that are possibly the only two William Friedkin movies that I've watched, and I like both.
Okay.
I haven't seen To Live and Die in LA, which apparently he tries to one-up the car chase.
Yes.
But yeah, I was kind of intrigued to see what you thought of it. We've covered movies like this before, and
I was trying to decide if this or Bullet bored me more.
Really?
Yeah. You mentioned the Taking of Pelham 123.
Yeah.
I vastly preferred that to this.
Yeah, that's got a bit more. I don't know if it's got action. Really, it's got a bit more threat.
Action, like it's got more charm to it. It's got better pace to it.
Yeah.
Popeye Doyle is an absolute asshole.
Yeah.
I wrote this has two types of scenes: cops following people, or Doyle being racist.
Yes, and so I was looking that up, and it was interesting that Gene Hackman really, really struggled with that. Like he really didn't like that thing. So William,
good, makes me like Gene Hackman a bit
absolutely,
more.
Yeah. He really, really struggled with it, and William Friedkin's kind of response to it was that was the reality of this guy.
Yeah, I understand that,
but he wasn't even convinced it was the reality of that guy. Like Eddie Egan himself, he put on this persona of this cop, and he would do this sort of stuff.
Right.
So it's kind of like trying to find out, obviously I think what it highlights is that whichever way you look at it, there's that institutional racism which is still very apparent today.
Yeah, this was very much. I mean, it doesn't glamorize police work. It doesn't glamorize the force. It doesn't glamorize New York.
No.
The ending is very downbeat.
Yeah.
And almost as abrupt as On the Run.
Do you know what? I wrote exactly the same thing down because I'd forgotten how that ending works. And the other thing is,
and then it cuts to all those title cards where it's like, oh, this guy was up on these charges. He got away with it. This guy was up on these charges. Suspended sentence. This guy did 6 months. This guy got away completely.
Yeah, and it's like the French
Doyle was transferred out of the department.
Yeah, the French actor who had like the most minimal bit to do that got like 4 years.
Yeah,
and it's just like, oh well, he was just the patsy then. But yeah, so
I did wonder if he was ever going to come back because he shows up for 2 scenes and he buggers off for most of the film.
Yeah. I didn't know if you like. It's one of those things when I was thinking about pitching it, I was tossing it out between this and the conversation, and I couldn't decide if you would be bored by that or by this.
I think a lot of the problem I had is a problem you have with a lot of films is I couldn't like Doyle or even Scheider's character Cloudy at all.
Yeah. No, I can see that.
And I tried to distance myself from that, and I tried to like tell myself, this is a story about a character, not a hero.
Yes, yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
But he's just like, all I could think of was if he was in The Departed, he wouldn't have been on the good side.
No, do you know what? Yeah,
or
absolutely.
any other cop movie. Like he did make me think a lot of the characters from that.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, and that's a film I didn't like either.
That's true.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what did I write here? So here we go. I got 50. I'm 52 minutes in, and I'm still not sure what the crime is. I presume drugs, but I don't know why the French are involved. Are they smuggling? It seems too simple and dull.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really
and I wonder
simple...
if that's my 2020 brain.
Yeah, I think it might be.
Like the plots are more complex, the crimes are more complex now, and this is just, Yeah,
I mean, literally what they did was they would buy a big American car, and there was a specific model, not the model they used in the film, but there was a specific model that just happened to have these gaping big, like, areas in it that had
and underneath they still have
the rocker panels,
side runners, almost like 30s gangster cars still.
Yeah, and there's there'd be a bulkhead for the interior of the car, and then another bulkhead for the engine, and there'd be a massive gap in between. So they would just fill it with drugs and then just ship the cars. And because the customs weren't gonna literally rip a cart apart, they would never find it.
Even the police mechanic initially doesn't take those parts off.
Yeah, and he says, he literally has the line, "I've ripped everything off the car apart from the rocker panels," and because it's cloudy.
Door's like, well, what the fuck are you playing at? And they take them off. Yeah. And lo and behold, there's some bags of heroin in there.
Yeah, and they only keep looking because Cloudy's looking at the instruction manual for the car, and he's just like, "Hang on a minute, when you weighed it." And when it got weighed at the port, it was this much, but the manual says it should only be this much. It's 120 pounds different. Yeah. But there really was a 60-kilo drug bust in the early 60s. It was Eddie Egan did it, and that's what it's kind of all based on.
Yeah. I was kind of hoping. So they do. The cops take the car, they pull it to pieces, find the drugs, put it back together again, give it back to Henri, the French TV actor who's done the actual smuggling part. And it gets taken off to the gang's hideout, for lack of a better phrase, where they take the panels off and take the drugs out and hide them. And like part of me was hoping they pull the runners off and somehow Popeye would be inside, like poking his gun out of the hole.
Yeah, just hiding there.
My first note as this started was, part of me hopes this is, because it's very famously a New York film.
Yeah.
I wrote, part of me hopes this has absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with France. And then, oh wait, there's a Citroen and a baguette. Everybody gets killed by having ketchup thrown at them, such are the squibs in this film. The first one in particular, I'm pretty sure they just had a can of tomato soup off screen and hurled it in the guy's face.
Yeah, typical William Friedkin.
Yeah. I'm just running through in order here. There's like things that make me laugh. There's you meet Doyle where he is disguised as Santa.
Yes, that was a thing they used to do.
Yeah. And Scheider goes into the bar, and one of the guys does a runner out of the bar, and like he and Santa take off, and they are hauling ass in that foot chase. That's really well shot, actually. But like the guy they're chasing, his afro must have created some serious drag. No wonder they caught him.
That was a like a thing they used to do. So Egan and his partner used to have to go and do like Christmas drug busts, basically, because people were going out for the night and that kind of stuff. So they would do it, and basically they would walk into whatever areas of New York they had to go to for whatever shift they were doing, and everyone would know they were cops, and they'd never get anything. So Egan was just like, fine, I'll dress up as Father Christmas, and he would go around and he would be like a charity kid, or he would talk to kids and sing songs, carols with them. And then what he would do is when he switched to a specific song, so if he started singing Jingle Bells, then Cloudy would just be like leap out of nowhere with all of the rest of the cops, and they'd arrest someone that they'd tag. And apparently they cleaned up. They absolutely cleaned up with that technique. Yeah. So I think he was Egan was a bit of a maverick. And like he was like the bit of this sort of.
I think them doing Santa Claus drug bust would have been a more fun film.
Quite possibly.
Right, I'm going to touch on something I really hated.
Okay.
Absolutely hated. It's so much that I wrote it twice. It turns out. Why does the score sound like a crap jazz band rolling down a hill in a barrel?
Do you know what?
The music is absolutely appalling.
I think because I was thinking that
off key.
It is,
and just. I couldn't listen to it.
I think that's the fault of Bullet and Dirty Harry, because they're both scored by Lalo Schifrin, and they both have that kind of jazz score, which works great for those movies. And I don't think it works for this.
And they bunged somebody $50 and went, do a Lalo Schifrin score.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, this came out the same year. This came out the same year as Dirty Harry.
Fair point.
So
I'm now going to touch on some things I liked.
Okay.
I'm going to do something else. I mean, I don't know what to do here. They establish a detail that made me laugh out loud. They established that Popeye Doyle has a boots fetish.
Yeah.
Because there's a girl who walks past him earlier on in a pair of knee-high boots, and he kind of comments on her, blah, blah, blah. And then he's driving around and he sees a girl in a pair of red boots on a bicycle. And then Cloudy comes around to his place in the morning, has to break in using the credit card. He's told to let himself in and uses the credit card technique on the lock to get in. And there on the floor is that pair of red boots and the girl coming out of the shower.
Yeah.
And that made me laugh. That was a nice little detail. There is a bit I like where Doyle is staking out the fancy Frenchman, and they're in a restaurant, like a hotel restaurant.
Yeah.
And he is on the sidewalk eating a slice of pizza, and they cut from him eating the pizza to the Frenchman eating their fancy dinner. That shot then zooms through the window to Doyle pouring out his disgusting takeaway coffee, and then back to them having their lovely cafe poured for them. That was really good. That's an excellent piece of storytelling. That's comprised of two shots. That's my favourite part of the whole film, even over the chase.
I can see why that you'd like that. I think that's I mean, when like looking at The Exorcist, that has moments like that as well, where Friedkin kind of pulls off those things, but I think he sometimes gets so caught up in trying to get realism that some of that
the
stuff.
style of this is very handheld and verite, isn't it? And almost
documentary.
It borderlines mock doc in some cases. And that was, I mean, that's still quite new for Hollywood in 1971, particularly for a film of this size.
Yeah, if you watch it back to back,
I say of this size, it cost $1.8 million.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if you watch it like back to back with Dirty Harry. Like Dirty Harry's like super slick. It looks gorgeous, and it's it's a gritty movie, but it looks like a Hollywood
Harry.
Yeah, exactly. It's got a really grungy, grimy kind of feel to it.
Buying a plane ticket was much easier in 1971.
I think buying anything was much easier in 1971.
I was also like, there's a scene on a plane, and there's sideways facing seats on a plane.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
which is something I've never seen before. Like the seats towards the back of the plane are basically sofas facing into the aisle.
Yeah, it's because I don't know what plane it was, but they really tapered to the thing, so it was the only way they could get more people in, I guess.
We should probably touch on the car chases as the most famous part of the film.
Yeah, okay.
The only note I took was I'm pretty sure they almost killed a cameraman.
Yeah.
Because there's a shot, because he's losing control of the car. We also didn't mention the ridiculous car stunt that opens ERIN Brockovich.
Oh, yeah.
Which thankfully turned out to be an amalgam of two shots.
Yeah, and one was done with remote control.
Yeah, because it looks at all the world like Julia Roberts is driving a car that gets absolutely T-boned.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
But anyway, Doyle commandeers a car from a member of the public, and it's not a clean chase, is it? Like, he slams it into all kinds of things, and there's one section where you see a stack of rubbish underneath an overpass, and the car, I don't know how fast it hit this stack, but it smashes through it and swerves off to the right, and the cameraman is standing on the left, and I don't know if he ran away. Something falls off the camera for sure, like the matte box or a filter on the front falls off for sure. So I don't know if the car actually clipped it or if the cameraman knocked the tripod as he ran away or whatever. But yeah, it was, as a cameraman, it was way too close for comfort.
So that chase, they had no permits to film that.
Doesn't surprise me.
In New York. What they did do was they got the ADs and some mates of Eddie Egan who were off-duty cops, and they tried to block off an area. They had a few stunt cars, they had a stunt driver, and they had Gene Hackman doing some driving as well. Gene Hackman, not a stunt driver. The only person that would operate camera in the car with him so that they could get the shots of him driving was William Friedkin, because he was the only person who could operate a camera and didn't have a wife or child.
God.
Yeah.
We've done some stupid things for films we've made.
I know.
We have never done anything as dumb as this.
No. And that's part of the realism of it. You know, it's supposed to be like, you know, they did it kind of for real, sort of. You know, so it's, again, it's Friedkin taking that realism to the extreme. He was, you know, he's not known for being the most sane person.
No. 2 days on, and I still don't know what the point of the straw hat in the back of the car is.
I knew you were going to say that.
So it's set up like it's going to be a thing.
Yeah.
It has a very deliberate shot of it being thrown onto the shelf, and a very deliberate shot of it sitting there on the shelf. And it's there whenever you see them driving around in this car.
Yeah.
And right, for a start, Doyle tails people like he wants to be found out.
Yeah.
I know it's the 70s in New York, but he drives a fucking massive car. He wears a very distinctive hat. He looks like Gene Hackman, and he's and he's driving around with a bloke from Jaws next to him. I thought he was going to get made any point. I thought the point of the hat in the back was it was either a signal to other cops or it was the thing that was going to get them found out.
Right, you're dead right. It is a signal to other cops, and it was what they used to do.
I like shit hats.
No,
they know that he's wearing one.
No, what they used to be was undercover cops would chuck a straw boater or whatever in the back window of the car, and that was a signal to uniformed police officers and other cops that if they saw that car with two guys looking suspicious in it,
leave it alone.
Leave it alone. The reason it doesn't get explained in the film is for exactly the same reason, is that they would just give up the technique, right? So, you know, it's kind of one of Friedkin's, like, here's what would really happen, but doesn't bother to explain why. But we can't tell you
why it would really happen. Yeah.
So I guess it's kind of an in-joke for cops, really.
I guess so.
You know?
Yeah, that's about it, I think.
That's fair.
I'm trying to work out if I'd have switched it off if we weren't doing it for the show.
Right, okay.
If I just put it on out of curiosity, this didn't really grab me at all. I found, as I said, I found the protagonist exceedingly unlikable. I found what they were investigating to not be that interesting. There are essentially two characters in this film, 1.5 really, Doyle and Cloudy. Nobody else gets any kind of development or is interesting in any way.
No. No, you get a tiny bit with the French guy, Alain. I
Yeah.
can't remember what they call what his surname is. I didn't write it down.
His surname is Chanier.
Chanier, that's Alain Chanier. Yeah, you get a tiny bit with him,
I think
but
he's
nothing.
played by a Spanish bloke.
He was, because they cast the wrong man. William Friedkin said to the casting director, "In this movie, there's that guy. I want him." And the casting director got confused. Fernando Rey showed up, and Friedkin was like, okay. Rang the casting guy and said, "This is the wrong bloke." And then they discovered that the right bloke didn't actually speak any English, and therefore would be very difficult to direct. So Friedkin was just like, "Fine, this one will do."
Amazing. He does a damn good job with the French if he's Spanish.
Well, exactly. English, yeah. Oh, do you have any idea? Do you have any idea what he eats when he goes to meet Henri? He picks up like a mollusk or some kind of shellfish thing.
It's some kind.
Is it an oyster or something like that? Because I'm just like.
So this was the French stuff was shot in Marseille.
Yeah.
I don't know if they have a big mollusk business. I've been to, there's a small seaside town in France I've been to a lot, and they have a booming seafood business there.
Yeah.
You cannot escape seafood, and they like a good whelk.
Yeah, right, okay. That's quite an Essex
I don't
as well.
particularly like that sort of thing.
I don't.
I mean,
I hate seafood anyway, but
I'm aware. I've got no issues with seafood, but like the slimy stuff that comes out of a shell just doesn't interest me. So I've never really investigated.
No, I
no, it was something horrible and French.
Yeah. And I was just like, oh man. I mean, you take a risk when you eat that sort of seafood, even if it's like well prepared, just to like pick it up off the ground and just like,
you know, maybe it's to show like he lives on the wild side.
Maybe, yeah.
This is how dangerous this man is. He doesn't give a shit about his own digestive system.
So few do.
Yeah. There was a credit that made me laugh. Location consultant, Fat Thomas.
He was probably a cop, I would imagine.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have much to add. That I didn't particularly like anybody in it. I wasn't wowed by any performances. I wasn't especially wowed by the car chase. As I said, I don't know why, because it's been a long time since I watched it, but I remember far preferring Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3 has got more in common with a modern action movie than this has, even though
probably.
there's probably less action in it. It's got much more threat to it throughout. It's got much more menace. It's got more humour in it.
I didn't care what happened to Popeye, I think, is part of the problem.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that, because like you say, he doesn't come across as a nice character in the slightest, and Eddie Egan doesn't particularly either when you read about him. I think it was just he's the stereotypical New York detective that all stereotypical New York detectives are based on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. He's the Halloween of detective movies.
Exactly.
So this is where the cliches come from.
Yeah.
This got some good titles around the world.
Right.
A lot of places it was called The French Connection. Some places added like a little subtitle onto it. So Germany, it was French Connection Focus Brooklyn.
Right.
In the Czech Republic, it was French Clutch Chase.
Okay.
Greece decided it was The Man from France. I wanted to know what The French Connection was called in France.
Yeah.
It was not just called The Connection, unfortunately. It was called The Sector.
Right.
Portugal went with The Incorruptibles Against Drugs. And then my three favourite ones, I can't say what order, but it might actually be this order. Finland called it Hard Men.
Okay.
Which I think is something about football hooligans. Italy called it The Violent Arm of the Law.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then Taiwan went crazy and called it Detective Thunderbolt.
That's brilliant.
Might be my favourite title for a cop movie ever.
That's fantastic. I want that. I want that film now. I want that film.
All right, maybe. Well, I've got some time off. I could do a writing project.
Yeah,
maybe we should brainstorm Detective Thunderbolt.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Yeah. All right. Time for pitches, I suppose.
Yeah, okay.
Do you wanna, or shall I?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, I'm going to stick with pitching you a classic that you've never seen. because that's I see so few modern movies at the moment. That's kind of where I'm at, and
This is why I'm here.
Yeah, I know, and there's some big gaps. Yeah, so I'm going to pitch you a movie that is a historical movie, but it's so specific of its time, it could only have been made when it was made.
My head
Does that make sense?
Spinning already.
Okay, so it's...
I'll say yes, just to move this along.
It's Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Good
which
God.
is...
Yeah, you've picked a DVD. I bought my first DVD player in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
If I bought this any later than 2005, I will be astonished. I've never opened the DVD case.
So this movie, I mean, it's a classic. Robert Redford and Paul Newman, screenplay by William Goldman.
Yep.
It's got the works, but it's obviously set, in the time of Butch and Sundance in the West, but it feels so much a 60s movie as well. Then
it's
69, so it's tail end.
Yeah.
So it's got that kind of, it's got that vibe of. Have you ever read the book Easy Riders and Raging Bulls?
Yes.
So it's that era of Hollywood, that transitional era of Hollywood, where you've got things like French Connection, Easy Rider, Dirty Harry, and going all the way through to like Jaws, and then the transition into blockbusters, right? This kind of weird wilderness where movies were kind of
anything goes, really.
Yeah, so sort of late
Hollywood was embracing like the independent
vibe. Yeah, and this kind of feels like that as well. So it's intriguing. There's the story is basically the last days, well, not the last days, but the kind of like the run out.
I mean, I know the ending. It's very famously the last days of Butch and Sundance.
Yes, yeah. So it's just about kind of their relationship and how they're going to evade the law and indefinitely. Basically, how are they going to get away with all of this stuff that they've done? Yeah, it's an interesting movie from that point of view. I think it's an interesting movie from its historical, how true it is, I guess I don't really know. But from telling a historical story, but then also it being made in this point of time in the late 60s. There's some stuff that I think you're going to find quite jarring. There's some stuff that's going to make you go, "What the fuck?" There's like.
Wait till you find out what you're getting.
And so I think it would just be interesting to see. And obviously you've got Paul Newman and Robert Redford, who are two of the most charismatic leading Hollywood men of that era.
Yeah, have ever been, really.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's like I say, it's bona fide classic. So I'd be interested to see whether you like it or not. It's one of those films I
actually know quite a lot about, but have never seen. Because I'm a I nearly called him Friedkin. I'm a William Goldman fan.
Yeah.
And I've got his books. I've read the books, and he loves this film. This is possibly his favorite film he's ever made.
Yeah.
He loves George Roy Hill, the director.
Yeah.
One of the books in particular, I would say if any less than 40% of the book is about Butch and Sundance, I would be amazed.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
unfortunately, we've only got a week, so I don't know if I'm going to have enough time to reread all of that stuff.
I'm certainly not. I wouldn't. It's one of those movies that I wouldn't go out on my way to say that it's like one of my favourites or it's like something that I particularly really love. But I just think it's a really interesting thing, and I know it's something that you've had for donkey's years that you want to see. Yeah. So I thought it'd be a good one to jump into. All
right. Well, how do I segue from that to what I have? It's also a period piece.
Okay.
It's more Wild East than Wild West.
Okay.
I would say it's a statement of fact that we are both fans of Jackie Chan.
Yes.
I would also say it's a fair shout. We would also each call ourselves fans of John Cusack.
Yeah. I've seen some good stuff. I've seen some stuff.
Yeah. How do you feel about Adrian Brody?
I don't think I've seen the Pianist, and he's excellent in that.
Okay.
Not sure I've seen him in anything else.
Okay. How would you feel if they were all in the same film?
I can't really imagine it.
Okay. Well, you're getting them all in the same film. It's called Dragon Blade.
Right.
And I saw it on a plane to China about 5 years ago.
Okay.
And one of my overriding thoughts when I finished was, that's mad. I need to get Tom to watch that as soon as possible. And just never did. I actually had it on the slate to pitch to you during season 1.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And just couldn't get hold of it for whatever reason. It is on Amazon Prime Video, or rather, the international cut is on Amazon Prime Video, which is 24 minutes shorter than the one I saw.
Right, okay.
And has a bunch of stuff reordered. And according to an extensive article I found on a German website last night, there are 119 differences between that and the Chinese version I saw.
Wow.
Including completely eliminating 5 minutes of modern day footage that bookends it.
Okay, interesting. I know they definitely they're very different markets, so I understand like recutting a movie, but that seems extreme.
Yeah. I actually think so. Having seen both versions, I actually think this is the better version.
Okay.
But make no mistake, I'm not pitching this because I think it's a good film.
Right. Okay.
But I also don't dislike it, and there's something slightly charming about its crapness and its earnest nature.
Okay.
So the plot is it's 50 BC. We're in the middle of the Chinese desert, and Jackie Chan is a man called I'm going to butcher the name, but I shouldn't because I only watched it again last night. Huan, who is the commander of the Silk Road Protection Squad, essentially the cops of the Silk Road.
Okay.
He and his team are accused of smuggling gold, and as punishment, are sent to rebuild the massive stone Wild Geese Gate. Up rocks a Roman legion.
Okay.
And a blind kid.
Right.
Led by Lucius, who's played by John Cusack. They are on the run from the evil Tiberius, played by Adrian Brody, who has dual intentions, kill the kid and take over the Silk Road.
Okay. Do you know what, like, Roman Empire and China are two things that don't go together in my head, but I guess
this is based on, I don't know if I can say fact. There is some evidence that a Roman legion of some kind made it to China.
That's crazy.
But it's not in 50 BC or for some reason 48 BC as it is in the Chinese version. I don't know where these 2 extra years have come from. It was something
Different
like 167 AD or something like that.
Okay.
But anyway, I'll look up that bit for next week. In its favour, it's a proper thousands of extras and hundreds of stuntmen epic.
Okay.
And I think Jackie Chan is actively good at the acting part of his role.
Okay.
And as he was on action director duties, there's a little bit of the old magic in some of the fight scenes as well.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I say this every week. I don't know what else to say in terms of a pitch. It's fucking mad. It's Kung Fu and Romans.
All right.
There's something like 9 different languages spoken in this film.
Oh, Jesus.
Jackie Chan gets lines in 5 of them.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
and bear in mind, this is the international version, not the Chinese cut, where usually all of this would be dubbed out by terrible Canadian actors.
Yeah.
There is someone who is very definitely dubbed in this, and that's the blind kid.
Right.
Who had a very thick French accent.
Right.
And there's one part, I should say this next week, but I'm going to do it now. There's one part where they forget to dub him, and he's using his natural voice, and his accent is so thick they give him subtitles.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. So it's Romans and Kung Fu, and you get to see Jackie Chan and John Cusack have a sword fight.
Nice. Awesome.
So
look forward to it.
That's about it, yeah.
Excellent.
Amazon Prime Video.
Cool.
Anything else you want to hit on, or shall I read off my little card stuck under my lens?
No, go for it. I think
Alrighty.
We're pretty good.
The little card stuck under the lens. If you've seen any of the films we talked about in season 2, particularly if you have seen Dragon Blade or whether it was he just pitched me something old with cops in, probably.
Butch Cassidy.
Oh, so probably no cops, cowboys instead. You can do so on Twitter at HYS Podcast. That is also our Instagram handle. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/haveyouseenpodcast. The website is haveyouseen.net. The email is hyspodcast@gmail.com. And if you want to follow my vlog about my recovery from, mostly, Bell's palsy, that's bit.ly/Kieran Bells. You'll see I'm almost back to my 100% natural handsomeness. Just a little bit left to go.
That's looking really good, actually.
I put up the 5th video in the series last week after we did this, after we did the podcast, and there has been dramatic improvement since then.
Yeah, even in that,
I'm not going to go into it here because then I've got no reason to make another video.
No, but I mean, just in that episode we're talking about, you put the things side by side, and you can see the huge improvements across those, and it's another massive leap. So it's good to see.
Yes, there has been a leap since the most recent footage in that video. So there we go. Tom, I believe you have something you like to plug every week.
My feature-length documentary is on Prime Video. You can rent it for a very reasonable price of £3.50, and it's about what it's like for men to go through fertility treatment. So it's there, ready to rent. Go watch it.
You can search for it on Prime Video, or you can go to bit.ly/theeasybit.
Cool.
That'll be on the screen somewhere.
Yeah, I always forget the URL.
I love how you sweated over that damn thing for 5 years, and every week you forget to plug it.
I know, it's crazy. I know it. I'm just exhausted. That's just the end of it, really.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. And it is the last thing we do, isn't it? Every week.
Yeah.
Alrighty, I think we can wrap this up then.
Yeah, I think so too.
Come back next week for Romans, Kung Fu, and Cowboys. See you later. Bye.
Bye.